We're here today to talk about Makkou-uchi. It's a basic movement of Aikijujutsu. It's actually one of the first that we learn to coordinate. Although the Makkou-uchi, to be applied properly, it involves a lot of alignments of our body and also the breathing of the harage, so it could be effective. Some people actually asked me once if Makkou-uchi was a movement that it represents dangers to the opponent, yes, when you apply. And the answer for that is yes. The Makkou-uchi is a powerful movement that we are going to study right now. And it is said that on the research actually that Japanese did with prisoners, it achieves a lethal consequence. So let's check how it is done and what can we do in some techniques like Udosai to deal with the Makkou-uchi. So the first thing that we may understand is how our body will work, will behavior on the Makkou-uchi and why it's so effective. So let's also, by doing that, analyze it with the hara concept. So the first thing is that one of the basic movements that we do daily for our mainly activities is to bring your arms up by doing the flexion of the shoulder. So when we speak about the flexion of the shoulder, it means that we are bringing the arm like this. And when we achieve the maximum angle that will be like 180 degrees, by doing that, and try it for you to feel what I'm going to explain now, we have a pressure on our back. You see our scapula, it slides to get the angle to make it possible to bring the arms on that 180 degrees. The scapula does its movements, or the scapular rhythm, and we have the glenohumeral joint that is also working with all its muscles and the tendons and all the incredible muscle system perfectly to make it able and capable to apply the Makkou-uchi. Although the Makkou-uchi is not just bringing up and bringing down, we have to improve that with the lever. And that's when it gets interesting. So to do that, I will ask you to try it actually, if you want, while watching this video. When we bring it up, you see the Makkou-uchi is, by bringing it up, we will bend a bit our arms, so our elbow will be aside, will be diagonal, and we will do a small rotation in our joint, our shoulder joint, and to achieve that angle, so our hand will be on the center line, the center axle. So remember that when we talk about Aikijujutsu, the Aikijujutsu come from lots of Kenjutsu movements or sword art movements. So we can compare the Makkou-uchi with the Makkou-giri. By doing that, the difference is that the term when we speak kiri is cut. So it means that we are going to use a blade, and uchi means impact. So it means that we are using just an impact and will be in this case with the hand. So by doing it, imagine that if we were using a sword, you see our arm will behave just as the same. And when we bring it down, we will bring the blade or bring our hand just like a sword on the center line. So we lifted the arm, we provide the perfect angle to do it so. We bring our elbow to adjust for this lever, this line of impact of the Makkou-uchi. And that is when it gets dangerous. Now let's try to understand why in a very easy way. You see, when you bring your arms up by 180 degrees, for instance, you feel pressure on our back. Our back will have to adjust, our thorax will have to adjust to do that. And that is easy for us to imbalance our opponent on those angles. When the arms start coming down, you see, if the arm achieves more or less like a 45 degrees in relation to our shoulder line and our center axle, that will be just like a 90 degrees here. In 45 degrees, you have the whole arm, the shoulder, the back, the thorax, all the muscle group will be prepared to apply the impact, and not considering even the energy that we are using to that. That is the Harage analysis within Aikijujutsu. But let's just go back to the body movement itself. So when it gets that angle, it gets really dangerous, because the whole body is prepared to the impact. It will be really powerful because we have here a lever that we're going to use. We have a velocity that will be applied by the arm, the other by the forearm and the hand as independent structures. See, they will not come completely down like a unique piece. Imagine that we're going to fragmentize the structure, so we have the hand, the forearm and the arm, and each one will move independently, but they will be aligned for a common goal. That will be a huge impact on our cranial area. It's not the forehead. You see, another question that normally students ask is why we're going to impact the forehead. The forehead, I mean the frontal bone, is so strong. Of course it is. It's really strong because you see, the body must protect its most important parts, and here we have the brain. So you see, the brain is very fragile to any kind of impact, fracture or damage. It's really risky for the body not to be able to protect itself. So we have those bone structure to protect them. But the cranial area, it's a group of bones that goes together. So if we check that, actually we have a line. It's like a border of those bones to conform, to close the cranial box, in a way to speak, I mean this, to protect the brain. So the impact is not the forehead. The forehead is the frontal bone. This is a really strong bone, but will be up in the frontal part, but up, just like the line, the border of those bones that goes together. It's easily to imagine that area. If you remember that when we are newborns, that area is opened. Yes, it's open yet, the bones didn't completely close it, so it's a really fragile area for newborns. So that area exactly is the area of impact of the Makkou-uchi. Because of this violently movement that comes with a huge power for impact, we have two options to deal with it. So that, for instance, let's get the Utdosai group of techniques for us to understand. When you talk about the Utdosai, you have two possibilities to deal with the Makkou-uchi, considering those two together. So the first one is a Mai, an Omote movement, and you will act directly against your opponent, and there is no circular spiral movement on it. And that is because you'll be able to block the Makkou-uchi before it gets too strong. And when we say blocking before it gets too strong, it means that you will have to block it before it achieves that 40-45 angle over arm. Because you see, here we have no conditions to use completely our body to defend ourselves from any kind of unbalancing movement, diagonal, up and or backward, because it will affect completely our back. But once we get to 45 degrees, then we have completely prepared the arm, and that's the level that the Makkou-uchi is going to use. So when you talk about Mai is a term that makes reference to time and space. It means that is the time and space that you have between you and your movement, between you and a situation, between even a place. It could be applied to many things, but in martial art it means actually the time that you have, the space that you have between you and your enemy or your opponent. And we are going to do what we will call in sword arts a DI technique. A DI means that you must be faster than your opponent. You must finish your movement before he finishes his. So you have to accelerate and you have to get there before he completes his movement. So when we talk about Makkou-uchi, it means that you must block the movement before he achieves that angle and bring the whole structure of your opponent backward. By doing that, you have time, you have a safe moment for you to block his attack and apply a nudosai or apply an impact or apply whatever you want to apply, avoiding the Makkou-uchi to complete. But the other case is the ura movement. When we do apply a ura, ura is applied when you don't have time to act and interrupt the movement itself. It means that the whole body, the whole structure of the Makkou-uchi is ready to come with all the energy and all the strength down. It is really difficult to block Makkou-uchi when it achieves that dangerous angle of 45 degrees. It means that now we have to let the energy go. We have to empty that energy, let it get exhausted before we apply. So ura techniques are especially applied when you let the arm come down, and then the whole energy will be exhausted, will be the uke will be in a emptiness of its own energy, because the energy was transferred and it went out. Because considering this, you may remember that the energy of a hara comes to your back, up parallel to your backbone, to your column, and then it comes to the shoulder, arms and hands. So it was liberated already. The hara must actually provide a new quantity of energy to the next reaction or the next attack that the uke will do, because the first attack failed. And on that interval is the moment that we are going to apply the technique. So we will do the ura movement. It could be many kind of techniques, but then it will have to change. We will have to use that moment to balance his hara, to provide, for an example, a spiral movement where you're going to bring the level of his hara down. And then, depending on the harage breathing that you're going to use, fire, water, air or earth, it will get a particular characteristic by doing that. So I hope you can try it, to test it actually in yourselves. Ask someone to try to block it, feel the angle, feel the pressure, feel that when you apply the kuzushi, the hara will be blocked, and it will improve your effectiveness on your technique. Thank you very much. I'll see you next video.